Now let's actually work on something very important, which is called resetting your CSS style and make like a basic styling for your application, so it makes your life way easier, because browsers by default do tend to apply some default styling to your page, and that can make it annoying to work with. And I'm going to show you like example and how we fix that and how we change that, so you actually can have a deeper look into this and understand some of the basic with CSS and resetting it. And also we're going to do that with Sass, so you also can understand how Sass work. So that's going to be a lot of things in one, and I hope you like it. So I removed all the styling from here. So the styles I'm going to do, I'm going to have it in global. So let me change that to Sass. So I'm going to change it to SCSS and then go back to _app and then change it right here to SCSS. So you can write it as Sass. So if you go back to our index right here, we had this right here, this H1. If you go back to the browser, you can see that it's not in the top. It's moved a bit from the top on the left. And the reason for that is that browsers do tend by default to apply a default margin. So if I go back right here, and I'm going to zoom in right here, so you see in the body right here, we have a margin which is 8 pixels. And when I highlight it, you can see that it's moved from the top and also a bit from the left. So we don't want that, because that could be annoying, and every single element has some sort of margin that's gonna move elements the way that we don't want. So simply you can go back and use the all selector in the globals to select every kind of tag and just simply make the margin 0. And if you save that and go back to the browser, you can see that that disappeared and we don't have 8 pixels right here, and it's moved to 0 right now, which makes take space of all the space that we need, and we don't have some collapsing with elements. Now let's talk about one of the best and life-saving properties in CSS. So I'm sure when you write CSS or watch any videos, you see the right box size and border box, and you don't know what it's for. You write it and you don't know what it's for. So let me explain it for you in details. So I had 2 elements right here, and I give them right here width and height and also a different background, so we can see the changes. So if I went to the second element and I added like let me just add a border and then like 10 pixel and then solid and then black. What happens right here, you see it's added an extra 10 pixel to the width from this side, this side, this side, and this side. So from all sides we have an extra 10 pixel, and you don't want that, because when you want a border, you want it to be contained in the element itself. Also, if I wanted a padding, like for example, if I have a text inside it right here, if I want a padding so I can move the element like from all the sides for 20 pixels, it shouldn't add it also to the width and the height. It does the purpose, but it's actually added to the width and the height. And if we keep like this is gonna ruin our CSS completely and our elements, and this is just elements gonna pop up from each other, and it's just gonna be bad. So the solution is this little property that saves your life in CSS, which is box sizing border box, and save, and you see now everything you do is gonna be contained and removed from the height and width. Well, it's not gonna be removed, it's gonna be the same height and width, but if we add the border, it's gonna show you the border contained there. If we add the padding, as you see the text is moved, or like there's a padding from all sides without the need to ruin our order to our elements and make them go over the roof. Also, let's add it to the before and after elements. So usually when you do it with CSS, you gotta select the element and then you select the before or after, and then you add the style into it. But in Sass, you just do that inside the element itself by using and, which stands for whatever the parent name is. So if like this is span, this is gonna be span. If this is the all selector, it's gonna be all selector. And then you can go before and then also select the after. Okay, and then in Sass, I think it works with both. You can just have with 1 or 2, it's gonna work fine, not like normal CSS. So right here, we're just gonna copy this and paste it right here. So now we have the box sizing border box. So also let me remove those. Okay, let me go back right here. Let me just have an H1 that says welcome. Okay, like that. So let me go back right here. Now let's actually select the body and add like a font family. So for us, it's going to be sans serif. This is how it looks right now. Let me add the sans serif fonts, okay, and let me save, and this is the difference. Okay, we're going to use it. We're not going to use any fancy fonts from Google or anything. This is actually very nice, and most of the times it works like with the default fonting that's accepted by all browsers. And also want like a universal line height between all browsers, because if I go back, for example, to this H1, okay, and select it and add like a background to be yellow, like that. So you can see there is some spacing between like from the top and the bottom. So there is something that's called line height that's controlled that height. Okay, so like for example 1.9, which is 190%. Okay, and that's gonna give it 190%, so it's 90% plus, you know, space you get right here. Okay, so this is how it looks. So, and the more you lower it, you know, the higher it's gonna get. So the best balanced, you know, value is gonna be like 1.5, 150%. Okay, like that. So we're gonna use that because some browsers, you know, have their different line height, so this to make sure it's the best. Okay, and also when I had the whip kit because it's not fully supported, and then we're gonna use fonts smoothing. Okay, so we can have like some smooth fonts in, so we're gonna use anti-alias like that. I hope I wrote this right. Okay, so whip kit, font smoothing, anti-alias. Okay, like that. So this is just sharpen the edges of the font to make it look the best. Also, we're gonna select every button and inputs and also the text area, and then also we're gonna select like the select elements, and then we're gonna go to fonts and make it inherit, and I'm gonna explain why. So font inherit simply, let me just go back right here and let's make this a button, for example. Okay, what am I doing? Button. Okay, sorry, button, and this is like for example click. Let me save that. So let me zoom in a bit right here. So this is very important because by default the button, the input, the text area, and the select, they don't get the font that you have in your body or any elements. Okay, they just simply stick with the default font. So for example, if I go right here and comment this, you're gonna see that it goes back to the normal fonts. Okay, but if you change this, it's back to the new font that we have. And also any styling that we apply right now to the parent elements, most of the time it's not going to be the body but just the parent elements, and save that is going to affix the button. Okay, so you don't have like to start your elements and then go to the body itself and style it. When I just add inherit, and it's going to inherit every property that's related to the font from, you know, the parents. For example, like font style, not font style, let me just see with the font style what we can do with font style. Okay, for example like italic. Okay, so it's gonna apply to it. So anything related to the fonts like that, this is actually very important and life. Now let's talk about the next thing, which is simply if you have like a long text. Okay, so something like very large and you have like a fixed width, so for example like half of the screen for example, and the text is too long, sometimes the text will overflow your elements and you don't want that. So whenever we feel like this space is not enough, we want to break the text so it continues in the next line. So we're gonna go to every single paragraph, each one, it's gonna be a bit boring, H2, H3, okay, you know the deal. Simply overflow wrap and then break word. Okay, so it's gonna break by the word itself, so you can manage to have that. Let me remove this button from here. Okay, that's very, very important. And also gonna select every single image and video. I don't think we're gonna use videos, but you can also select the canvas. I always use that. So, and also the SVG canvas, and also every single SVG, sorry, and then we make the max width 100%. And the reason for that is because sometimes you add an image and you see that the image is too large and it's taking the whole space. You don't want that. Whenever we add an image or a video or any canvas or SVG, you want to simply to stick inside that element and doesn't overflow it, which is something like very nice. Also want to select the e tag, okay, so the link, and then simply we're gonna make the text decoration to be none, so we don't want that underline. And also for the color, we want to inherit it. Okay, so inherit like that, so because by default they be like black or something. And then also want to select the list, so the UL, and then simply we can make the list style none. Okay, so we remove the dots that you have in the list, and also we can make the margin 0 and padding 0. Okay, because they have like a default margin. I don't think they have a padding, they have a margin, but I'm just adding it as an assurance. Okay, and we may remove that later. And also for every single button, it defaults, you know, by default, if you go back right here, you see it has like a border. Okay, and also when you hover it, you see like something goes with the outline and change color. We don't want that. All my buttons for this example, you know, it depends, it might change for you and may you need that, but by default for most buttons I just don't want any border, none, and also the outline to be none. Okay, so when I have it doesn't have any effects. All right, so this is all when it comes to Reset Css styles. We might have something new we can edit, but for now this is enough for us to start coding.